Hi, I'm Carol Wilson. I'm editor-at-large for Light Reading, but I'm here for Telco Transformation with Jim Sabey, who is the head of sales specialist for BT Americas. Jim, thanks for being here with me.
Thank you.
So, Jim, we've been talking a lot today about the way in which virtualization changes how network operators function, really. And one of the changes, one of the fundamental changes, is how you work and deal with your vendors.
Right.
Can you tell me how you're seeing those kind of changes within BT?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of what we mentioned earlier today, one thing that's really changing is just our day-to-day conversations with the vendors. They used to be, I'll call them siloed, meaning that we would talk to the router guys, the firewall people, all the different aspects of the business. We would talk to them in silos or separately.
Okay.
But now, as you talk about virtualization, Carol, and all of these processes running potentially on one box, on one piece of equipment, an x86 server, for example, we have to make sure that those software applications now actually cooperate well together on that single box. Whereas before they were separate devices in the customer's data center or in their telco closet. Now you have, instead of 4 pieces of equipment, you just have one, a server, virtualized, that's running all these applications on top of it. So BT is actually changing the conversation with our vendors, and we're actually inviting vendors from the different elements of the business, so the firewall people and the routing people, et cetera, we're inviting them to the sandbox, if you will, so that we're all communicating and collaborating together. Instead of traditionally in years past, you just have a meeting with the firewall folks, and then you have another meeting with the optimization,
and you give them your requirements, and they'd be expected to meet those requirements.
Exactly. But now it's, hey, for example, the WAN op folks and the routing folks and the firewall folks, hey, we're going to put all of your software now on one device. So how do we work together to make sure that we build a service that we can send to our customers and sell?
And are you finding vendors are embracing this new approach? Are you meeting any resistance?
It's a great question, because a lot of the vendors that we use and our competition uses, they really aren't hardware manufacturers. So what I mean by that is, for example, a Riverbed or an InfoVista, 2 of the WAN optimization partners that BT has, they're software companies. In some ways, they just happen to create a box with a stamp on it of their company because that's what people expected 10 years ago. But now, they're software. So they, in some ways, the vendors that we work with, they're actually excited because now we're not so worried about the actual CPE. We're more worried about the software and making sure that the software works collectively together, cohesively with all the other service components.
One of the things we talk about in that multi-vendor world, though, is that kind of who takes responsibility for making it all play well together. Does that ultimately become BT's responsibility?
Yeah, I would say yes. Ultimately, that is BT's responsibility, and that's one reason why a lot of organizations have been slow to market, because you have to make sure that all these components work correctly. And from a BT perspective, what happens when the firewall is not working on that actual virtualized appliance, or what happens when the routing function? How do you triage it? How do you have your customer service set up to make sure that we actually can troubleshoot it correctly? Because before it was like, oh, the WAN op is having a problem, just go straight to that device and look at it. Well, now it's going to be on this server with all these other components, and we may think it's the WAN op causing the problem, but it may actually be something else, the firewall, for example. So it's actually creating a new interesting dynamic, really, with our providers. All right.
Yeah, it sounds challenging.
Yes.
So, Jim, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Carol.